or a parent who is so harsh on you, who is not so much loving, what happens with you is that your self-esteem is crushed. You are in a society where nobody ever told you when you have done right, but your parents are always very quick to tell you when you are very wrong. Number two, we're in a society that is very materialistic. Materialistic in this way, everything is defined by money. To an extent, if you do not have money, you lose your self-worth. And that's why you realize people today are doing anything to get money. They can even sell their bodies, they can get into the cult because that's the definition of a good person in society is money. And that's why you realize even politicians can go to an extent of stealing to get what is called a self-value. Number three, we're in a generation where morality is not the aspect of the day. Our society can bend very quickly. You know, you are termed as a hero if you come and share stories on how you went for parties at night. If, for example, in a class, and I'm so sure teachers can do this test, any girl who has never drunk, any girl who is still a virgin today is treated as if they are not in fashion. Why? The society we are in has failed in terms of morals. And therefore, in such a society, we realize if you want to live right, then you are not celebrated. If you are seen as a hooligan, you are always celebrated. And therefore, we need to arise and ask ourselves, how do we raise responsible citizens in the 21st century? And the only way out, and I want to call upon my fellow counselors, be equipped. Because by the end of the day, if you are not equipped, you'll find yourself in a very difficult situation addressing this generation. I'm not only talking of being equipped by going back to school, because one of the unfortunate issues we have about our schools is that we are so much tailored to a particular curriculum. But it is about going outside there, feeding on the information that other people are feeding and changing them. One of the scripture I love in the Bible is when Jesus said, go into the world. He never said go to the world. He said, go into the world. Into means enter into the system. Understand what is eating these children. Come out and become a point of influence. But if you are a person who don't understand the Illuminati, if you're a person who don't understand tattoos and their meaning, if you're a person who don't understand the site that is mostly visited, if you're a person who do not understand these cults and what these children are watching every day, then we live as counselors who are only very good academically, but not relevant in terms of helping our children. Finally, and I want to say this, no school will be able to raise responsible children until they bring their parents on board. Our parents are busy, and I understand them because the economy of the world is making them, feel, they are very drained, they are pushed center and back. Our parents, unlike before, they are renting houses. Our parents, unlike today, are losing jobs every day. There is no school. Every school should come up with a program and say, term 2 or term 1 will be having what we call Parents Empowerment Program. And it is compulsory for parents to come. At that particular meeting, we are not telling parents about school fees. We are not telling parents about the project we want to do. We are calling a facilitator to teach parenting on contemporary issues that are facing our children on 21st century. So you call a trainer to train parents on parenting skills, because other than that forum, there is no other forum that we can teach our parents on content. We teach our parents on science of the Illuminati. I was dealing with a case recently. A parent told the girl, you should not be visited by boys. So the only visitors who are visiting the girls at home were fellow girls, only for the parent to come and realize these girls were cheating, the girls had turned the house to become a brothel for lesbianism. We need to teach our parents on the contemporary issues. And that's why I'm requesting, as we open the new term after KCSE, because I'm so sure right now the teachers are not allowed to allow parents in. Why can't we allow that in every school, every term, every Saturday will be dedicated all parents to come to school, not the issues on building a dormitory, buying a school bus, and issues on disciplinary, but a parent will be attending to school for 2 hours training on parenting in the contemporary world. And I can tell you, if we do that, we shall be equipping our parents. Maybe we can say every year or every term a topic. Term 2, parents being taught on sexuality and helping dealing our children with that. Term 3, parents will be called for a seminar on handling drugs in schools and society. Part 4, parents should be talked about handling children at home. Maybe if we do that, we shall bring everybody on board, and teachers will not be so much tired on dealing with children who are indisciplined at home, and we expect them to come and change while they're in school. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you. From that conversation, I can clearly pick that parents need to play an extreme role in ensuring that they control the low self-esteem levels. And I don't know that we still have Father Nzule. And in his absence, again, Father Julius, could you kindly what do you think? How should we deal with low esteem learners, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think
after you have answered this,
yes,
I would kindly ask you to give us directions whether we need to have a small break, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or we continue for another 1 hour, 1.5, and then we wind up. So
thank you very much.
Yours.
Yes, I think on the issues of low self-esteem, what we need is to really help the parents, because there is a lot of problem with the parenting. And when you go to most of the schools, especially now in the primary and in a secondary, most of parents are young and also single. And so we need to help the parents that they have a better way of bringing up their children in a balanced way when the two parents are contributing. And where we have one parent who is single, they can use one of their relatives to play a father role or a mother role, because we cannot dictate that everybody must have the other spouse, because maybe it may not be possible in a situation we are in. But when you bring a role of a father figure or a mother figure to your child, who is your close relative, who has good foundation, it can help. The same is also, we need also at both family and school level to deal with the aspect of affirming children, because more often than not, we are condemning our children and having very high expectations on children without judging them. So let us also look the capacities of our children and have realistic expression on children, affirm them, appreciate them, and also assure them, even when right now things are not well, let us assure them things are going to be well. And the presence of our parents to our children is the key thing to raise the esteem, because children are also losing esteem because of the absence of their parents in their lives. And basically in both psychology and in anthropology, they say the role of parenting from both the mother and the father, they are different. And they say the father's role in the life of a child is very important, because the father is so much involved in activities like play and also creativity, as opposed to mother who is soft and is affirming. So the aspect of the two parents is very important that we need to balance. And that's why I'm saying, if you are we have to help the single parents, that if you are a single mother, and you have no husband near you, can you have your brother or your cousin also to play a father's role in the child, in the level of your child, that they can be properly brought up. But from the experience of the COVID, what we want to emphasize even to the children, to the teachers, let us affirm our children. Let us listen to them. Let us assure them. Let us comfort them. That's how we are going to raise them, because they have gone through many difficult issues. That's my input.
Okay, thank you, Father Julius. Truly appreciate. I don't know, should we continue or do we take a break?
I can suggest we take a break, even if it's 10 minutes, and we rejoin after 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that also would help us, and particularly our main facilitator, to look at some of your questions.
Yeah.
And ensure that he addresses those questions during his presentation.
Yes.
Now that the other participants are unable to.
I'm also asking the teachers to share with the others that now we are streaming on YouTube, they can advise their colleagues to give them the link on the YouTube that they can also follow us on YouTube.
Yes, exactly.
I'm also sharing the same principles.
Information. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
We are live on YouTube, so now it's make it easier for even more members to participate.
And I'm also asking the teachers currently to take the advantage of this break to send as many questions as possible so that we ensure that we address everybody. So make sure you send them as many as possible so that during the break time we can address those questions and help your school succeed.
So we join at what time?
It is 11, so by 11:10 we should be here.
Yes.
11, then we do another 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then we'll call it a day.
Asante.
Mr. Nzioki, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, we are both on Facebook and YouTube. Huh?
Give us also the Facebook link, Mr. Nzioki, that I can share.
Yeah. Yes, okay. I'm sending to you right away.
Okay. All right, then we can continue. Enjoy your little break, and then let's meet after 10 minutes so that we can cover enough ground. I can see our facilitator has quite a lot. I appreciate, and thank you.
We have taken a break. Sorry?
feel pressure.
Mm.
Iko sawa. Iko sawa. Ni hiyo kebo ilikuwa imenini.
katika hiyo kutumia lingine ya email yake asi email yake hiyo watu ni lingis ni kutumia.
Hello, Father.
Hello.
Oh, you can hear me, eh?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we are just about to start.
Yes.
I hope the members are back. There are quite a number who had left. They are coming back.
We are coming back and more are joining on the other platform.
On the other platforms, eh?
YouTube, yeah.
Okay,
And
that is good.
kindly,
Okay,
Mr. Sioki, I would love you forward again the Facebook link. I did not get it well.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Facebook link, eh?
Yes.
Okay, if you can hear me, I think we can start.
Yes.
And inform the rest of the team that we are back again.
Yes.
Karibuni tena. Asante for the little break. I'm sure the sugar levels have gone back to where they are supposed to be. Just for your information, once again, we are on Facebook. A link is being sent to you. We are also on YouTube. So those of you who may not have had a chance of getting in, maybe you can advise them, you can text them, you can inform them that we are now on more platforms. And we are going back to our second session. So karibuni tena, we are back on our second session, and I'll start by taking us back to our main facilitator, Mr. Paul. And Mr. Paul, I will ask you now that Father has tried to guide us on the issues of dealing with parents, teachers, guardians, and noticing low esteem in learners. I would want to ask you, what are the symptoms of stress that a parent or teacher can easily pick, and how do they mitigate? And when I'm asking this, I'm asking both physical and emotional symptoms. Because I want to believe that sometimes even us as parents, we may not be able to pick some of this information, and probably if we're able to pick, then we'll be able to mitigate appropriately, and in the process, avoid some of the major damages, both to the person who is under stress and the property that this stress may cause some damage to.
Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists and our participants. Let me talk about stress and say that everybody, including children, get stressed. Stress can be caused by so many issues. Maybe it could be home, it could be school, it could be transitional. For example, some of the girls and the boys we have in schools could be in relationships. Some of these letters they receive from their girlfriends or their boyfriends could be affecting them. Some of them have home issues that they have, by the time they were coming back to school, the issues were not resolved. Some of them, when the parents come to their school, they tell them news that disturb them from home. Some of them could be some of the comments teachers make in class, or some of them could be also the school transitions. Do you know even a change of a principal, a change of a teacher can affect a child directly or indirectly? Do you know a comment of a teacher describing how a child looks or how the child is behaving? Do you know that the exams decline in terms of marks can affect children? But what I'm saying, now that you may not individually be able to consciously know what each child is going through, as Brace has told me, let's discuss some of the symptoms or some of the things you can look at and know this child is stressed. Number one, not caring about personal appearance. So for those schools that wear ties, the way a child ties a tie up to the neck or below the neck, you are able to know. Some of these children do not tuck in. Sometimes this child used to be very smart, but they are not. Once you go to their dormitories, you realize their desk is unkempt. Sometimes you check even the way their work is organized. You realize this child used to have a neat handwriting. They look disorganized. They are canceling everything. Personal appearance can tell you a lot about the child being stressed or not stressed. When they are unkempt, it's a sign that something is disturbing them, because what you see outside is something that is coming from inside. Number two, eating disorders. A child can either overeat or not eat at all. You realize you are being told, you know, mtoto fulani amemwaga chakula, or for example, you realize he is eating and not getting satisfied. So overeating or undereating can be a sign of stress, because probably the mind is consuming so much, or probably the mind is so much intoxicated until he doesn't have the sense of taste. Another thing that can help you realize that this child is stressed is drugs and substance abuse. No child at any level loves taking drugs. Even some of them knows the effect of drugs, but psychologically they have been told that if you take a particular drug, you will feel relaxed. So sometimes use of an abuse of drug could be triggered by something that is troubling this child within themselves. The fourth one is excessive defense. This child is fearing being caught. So every time he'll come and say, I'm not the one who did it. What he's trying to do, he's trying to cover or put a cover so that you don't dig inside to understand what he is going through. Like, for example, you can ask a child, do you have a relationship? No. He's trying to put a cover so that he can stop you from digging so much information and discovering much about him. The fifth one, I think I can talk about truancy. And this is what now we are seeing in schools. Truancy means it's a kind of a rebellion. When you see children fighting back, burning schools, speaking harsh. In fact, even I can say this, even during assemblies, or during class, when you hear children booing or saying something, it is telling you there is something bothering them and nobody is listening to them. Please don't dismiss them in the assembly and tell them, keep quiet. You should not talk when the teachers are talking. Fine, that is good so that you arrest the situation, but you are saying that you can address it differently and tell them, the way I hear you reacting, it seems there is something you want to talk out. And you can tell them, by this, some of the schools I have seen, some of the children having what is called suggestion box. But you're also requesting, let those suggestion box be attended to and addressed. Unaweza kuta suggestion box ingine iko na padlock hata haijaifunguliwa, hata imegrow cobwebs. We are saying, let's have active suggestion box. And let's not victimize people who give suggestions, and let's allow our children to even be allowed to wear them out. Lastly, you can also read moods. You can realize psychologically the child is withdrawn. It is either that he is not interacting with friends and he used to be very talkative, now he's not talkative, or she's not talkative. They look withdrawn. One of the symptoms, and I'm sure you have heard this before, any person who did something, you'll hear people saying, by then we realized he had started withdrawing and he was not talking to anyone. Another second one is something that is called sleep disorder. You realize this child is either pretending or faking sickness, not necessarily because they are sick, but because something is bothering them. You see, sometimes, and that's why I'm saying why we need to equip counselors, because anytime a child is seen to be sleeping in class, you can, for example, a teacher comes to class and find a particular child is sleeping during lesson. What that teacher does, they go forward and punish the child. Instead, they realize when you see this child not sleeping in class, either he or she never had enough sleep, or secondly, something is distracting this child psychologically that they cannot concentrate in class. And that's why I'm saying, can we move from corporal punishment to guidance and counseling? Finally, it's something that we are calling aggressive behavior. A little while, a child comes to the staff room and says, person ABCD has hit me with something, has hit me with an object. The first thing we do as teachers is quickly going and punishing those children before listening to them. Maybe they did it unconsciously. Maybe that child said something that triggered a reaction. I'll give you a very good example. I remember a boy in a particular school I was called. A girl comes and calls that boy and abuses that boy with the father. No, this girl who abused this boy with the father had not known that this boy had lost the father a week ago. So what did the boy do? The boy hit the girl at the umbilical cord. The girl had to be taken for medical attention. And instead of the teachers listening to this boy, they started punishing the boy and even expelling him. So we are saying, when you see these children having aggressive behavior, before you punish them, the guidance and counseling department should start becoming proactive. In fact, I'm requesting, if possible, let every assembly, the guidance and counseling teacher be allocated 5 minutes to prepare the environment. I have seen a teacher asking me a question, and I think it's the guidance and counseling teacher asking me that some of us in guidance and counseling teacher are overwhelmed. We don't have enough time. My suggestion is this, my fellow schools, as much as you have a guidance and counseling teacher, have what we call a visiting counselor. Not necessarily a permanent counselor in school because you may not afford them, but have a visiting counselor, an external counselor. I have always said there is a conflict where a school teacher is also, a school counselor is also a subject teacher. Because remember, this teacher will punish a child when a homework is not done. You don't expect the same child will go and open up to this teacher who he or she knows they'll meet in another forum and disclose issues. Secondly, this child has also fears that these counselors may disclose some of her or his weaknesses to other teachers. And that's why you realize so many children do not disclose a lot to their inside counselors. Let me not call them inside counselors, let me call them internal counselors. I would request, and I saw it in another school happening, a place like Kitui, you can go, Father Julius, Father Nzure can go around and find, do we have a college in Kitui that offers, that trains guidance and counseling teachers? You can bring them on board voluntarily. Then say, every Saturday, schools, children should know From 9 to 11, there'll be counselors in school in case you want to share it out. But where a school is only relying with internal counselors, that will not solve all the problem, because these children feel there is a conflict between me and the teacher, because today he is a teacher, tomorrow he is a counselor. I may not be very comfortable relating. So the issues I have raised are symptoms, but as much as we may see these symptoms, please let's also put mechanisms or systems so that these children can open up more, so that we can understand and help them. Back to you, Wilson.
Asante sana. I'm informed Madam Njau is around. Is she there? Mrs. Njau, are you there? Okay, Father Nzule, can we hear you now? Can we hear you? Okay, still looks like it's a challenge getting you, but it is okay. So I'll still have to go to Father and ask Father, I don't know, some of our schools, do you know of any mechanism that they could have to handle issues of stress?
Some of our schools have some mechanism, and others maybe have what we call maybe the homegrown solutions, whereby the teachers look at what they're able to do, and what they are not able to do, they refer. But we have some schools where we have some counselors, teachers who are trained counselors. And again, what we have been also encouraging our teachers, especially in the area of support and counseling, you may not need a lot of skills, but the key skill is ability to listen, to empathize, and to sympathize. And from there, you assess the magnitude of the problem. Then if you see it's beyond what you're able to do, now we can also have referrals. So we have also some counselors who are outside whom we refer, but I think the idea which is being floated of trying to get as more as possible of external counselors to also be visiting is very important, because sometimes you also find some schools who don't have anybody to rely on. You also find one of the issues is most of the counselors are also teachers, and we had made a proposal to the government that the school counselor should be relieved from the aspect of teaching, which we have not implemented, but we have blessed this as the Kenya Catholic Episcopal Conference very strongly, that we need school counselors who are trained teachers, but they are relieved of teaching duties so that they can handle more of student issues. And we are also following on also supporting the schools with the chaplaincy, which we had started during the time of Dr. Matiang, but it failed. When Matiang moved, it was not followed, but now it's coming back. Unfortunately, it only comes back when we see strikes. After that, the government tries to forget. But now we are pushing that they can allow that. We also have chaplains deployed in schools so that they can also support teachers, because also, as much as we are talking about stress among students, teachers are equally stressed. And when teachers are stressed, they handle students wrongly. Then we get still more problems. That's where we are. We are also now, from our part, also making use of priests and also sisters to support where possible in our areas of counseling. But we need to do more, because we need a more also permanent solution. We also having somebody in the school, then also the external ones come also to reinforce what is being done in faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you very much for your contribution. Back to Paul. We've been talking about stress, and I've heard about depression. What is the difference?
Thank you so much. Before I come to depression, and allow me, I just wanted to handle something Jerry Wangari has asked us, so that I intertwine the two.
It's all right.
Jerry Wangari from our screen has asked, what is the effect of personality types on substance abuse and psychological disorder, and how can a school help identify psychological disorder in a school and not term it as an industry? Fellow panelists, I would want you to know that God, when he created us, he wired us so different. And even you can see.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Hello? Can I be heard?
Hello?
Please.
Miss Sinjao, David, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, kindly can you allow me to make my contribution?
Yes.
Who am I talking to?
Mrs. Njao.
Oh, Mrs. Njao.
Yes.
Are you able to hang on briefly? He finishes, if he finishes, then we can give you a chance.
It's okay.
It's okay, eh?
Yes, thank you.
Let him finish. I'm happy you're back here. We will give you a chance and we'll ask you the questions. Karibu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry for the challenge.
So I was saying, thank you for that. I was saying, it's good to realize, actually, even if you look at the Bible, different personalities reacted differently to different issues. That is called personality wiring. And even as I talk to the teachers and the students we are handling, I would want to emphasize on things we call the 4 temperaments or the 4 personality types, so that each one of us realizes where he is or she is and how to react to different stresses. We have the first personality, we call them sanguines. Sanguine, S-A-N-G-U-I-N-E. Who are sanguines? These personality types usually say they are very vibrant, very social. They love talking. They love relating with people. They are very people friendly. They are very outgoing. They always love being excited and a place that is fun. Now, these people can be very stressed when 2 or 3 things happens. Number 1, when people reject them, when people do not approve them. Or number 3, because these people who are sanguines are very outgoing, they set very ambitious goals. Like, for example, a student who is in Form 3, Form 4 can say, I purpose to move from C to a B minus. Because these people are very ambitious, if they do not achieve such a particular plan as they had organized, they get very depressed. And it is upon the counselors and the teachers to realize who are these some of the most active, aggressive, talkative students in class. You need to classify them as sanguines. You need to realize anytime these people are rejected or they do not meet their target, they are easily stressed. When you classify sanguines as that, you're able to know them. Secondly, there are people we call melancholics, M-E-L-A-N-C-H-O-L-I-C, melancholics. Melancholic is a personality of people who we call perfectionists. These people are very orderly, always smart, very organized. They love things done in a very structured way. The disadvantage that these people have, anytime they find a person who is opposite with what they're expecting, they get very stressed. These people, because of being very perfection, they expect particular standards. And you may find any person who is not conforming to those particular standards, they find themselves very affected. One of the disadvantages we have with very melancholics, because of being perfectionists, they are very impatient. So if they find like a particular teacher is not giving them concentration, or particular issues they raised have not been addressed, that issue can become a stressor. One of the ways you can know a melancholic student in class, they are usually very smart. Why? They are very particular to details, but they get very stressed when, for example, a particular teacher promises something and they do not deliver. A particular teacher promises to address their issues and they don't deliver, because the problem with melancholic people is that they are very sensitive. Number 3, we have people we call cholerics, C-H-O-L-E-R-I-C. People who are choleric, they are very bossy. They do not value other people's opinion. They love being listened. They are very organized and they live structured life. Majority of the people who are cholerics, they have very good leadership skills. They stand up in school, they stand up in organization. They feel their opinion should be listened to and respected. Such a student, if he is not given a prefect or a leadership position, he feels very unrecognized. If his opinion is overlooked in class, the way the teacher responds to him, if the teacher shoots this person down in class, these people can be affected a lot. I'm only giving you this as highlight, but I'll be requesting the listeners to go to the internet and look something we call temperament and personalities. You'll find them in detail. The last ones are people we call pragmatics. Pragmatics are people, okay, psychologists use a very negative word. They say they are very boring. They rarely talk. They rarely contribute. They are ever withdrawn. They even will never cause any chaos because they are very withdrawn. The only disadvantage pragmatic people have is that even when they are stressed, they tend to bottle up issues with themselves. A teacher can say a very negative remark, they will not respond. If you ask them if they have any problem, they say they don't have. They could even be suffering a lot from home. They are not saying. For any student you have who is a pragmatic, be it a student or a teacher, we usually say, unless they are triggered to talk, unless wachokozwe waongee, they can die with pain. They can die with suffering. And therefore, I'm saying a teacher must classify different teachers at different levels and be able to classify them and bring them out. Now, before I talk about stress and depression, because it may take a little few time, I want Mrs. Njao, who has come on board, at least to bring her ideas so that at least the panel can be prepared as I talk about mental depression, the difference between depression and stress. So back to you, Baratsi, so that you welcome Mrs. Njao.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Paul, for telling us about personalities. I'm one person who already knows what personality mine is, listening to your presentation. And from one of the presentation, again from Njeri, I noticed that say that the people who would highly likely influence a strike in a school are sanguines and choleric. That, although that one again is debatable, that's just something that I have read from the comment. At this juncture, allow me to welcome Mrs. Njao. Mrs. Njao, karibu sana, and sorry for the mishap. We
Thank you so much.
We kept asking about you, and you are not there. So I just
I'm on board now.
You're on board. Just would want you to just give a brief explanation, or just tell us in brief about some of these challenges that we've been having, and particularly if I ask you, for example, what do schools go through when it comes to stress issues, and how is the best way that they can be resolved? Students
Thank you so much.
Stress, and you need to see the best way to mitigate as a teacher.
Thank you so much, David. Let me make my contribution by starting with the topic that we are doing at the moment on mechanisms that schools can involve to handle students with stress. There is an idea that came in 5 years ago in the country about having a peer counselors club in schools. I believe if most counselors were able to implement the idea, it really help. In our school setup, we have seen it help. It's an idea that the counseling is devolved to classes. You have peer counselors selected by the students and by guidance of the teacher, of course, considering the personalities of the students. Students who are easygoing, students who can sacrifice to listen to others, students who are trustworthy and responsible. And when you ask, even at a class level, the students are able to tell you who can be their mentor, who can be their guide, they can share their challenges with. So you allow the students choose the peer counselors themselves, at least 4 per class. That is what we have implemented in our school in St. Aquinas. Then these 4 peer counselors per class are guided by the teacher counselors, whereby now the teacher counselors have to be taken through a termly program on how to handle the peer counselors and also on how to handle the counseling issues in school, stress included. At our school level, we have gotten a good support from the administration. We have been given the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday of every month. We handle students from level by main idea is to help the students, making sure our students they are failing, where they feel they are tell them it's a great future. So teachers give for charge. So we
Mrs. Njau, we are losing you. Can you hear us? Mrs. Njau, we have lost you again. I think as she gets back through that challenge, I'll take you back to Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul?
Yes,
Are you there?
I am.
Okay. There's an issue that we had raised, which you haven't still addressed. I think very quickly, give us a difference between the stress and depression.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can quickly look at drug abuse and what we need to do to mitigate as we almost come to the end of this session because of the time again.
You're right. I'll use 2 minutes to expound the difference between stress and depression. And I'll use the simplest language I can to help our audience to understand. Every human being has goals, expectations on a day-to-day activities. When goals are met or unmet, they can cause stress. Stress is where they cause emotional imbalance, which can lead either to mental or something. It is not a disorder, but it is just an imbalance. While stress is a disorder, while depression is a disorder, stress is an imbalance. I'll give a very good example. We usually have 2 or 3 types of stress, but allow me only to address the 2. We have something that we call eustress, EU stress or distress. Eustress is positive stress. For example, right now, the teachers who are listening to me, if today you got news that you have been promoted, you feel very excited, but that thing can stress you because you don't know how to move from point 1 to B. That is called positive stress, which is called eustress. If something negative like a loss of a friend, a loss of a close person, or maybe loss of money comes to you, you still can feel you have what we call an emotional and mental balance. That is now called distress. So anytime you have a mental and emotional balance, that is what we call stress. Secondly, what is depression? Depression is when we have something that we call persistent depressive disorder. So what happens about depression? An accumulated stress that has not been addressed over time leads to something that is called depression. And that's why when you go to hospitals, you are told there is even something that we call clinical depression. It has reached to a level until even some of your body parts have shut down because this thing has been so much persistent and it was not addressed. So we have said, anytime you have a mental and emotional imbalance, we call that one stress. Anytime you have a persistent depressive disorder, that is called depression. And that's why people who are depressed need to either be taken to a therapy or they need to be taken to hospital for medication or for therapy for them to regain both their mental balance and other areas of operation. But for stress, it is something that is triggered, which can go away with time or can go away if it is addressed. So depression is a disorder, while stress is a mental and emotional imbalance. Back to you, Grace.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
David,
Maybe
can you hear me now? Excuse me.
Yes.
Oh,
We
thank
can
you.
hear
Let me
you.
finish.
You did not introduce yourself to the rest of the team. I think it would be also good enough, Madam Njao, so they can know who is talking to us.
Okay.
Again, we are running against time, but we'll give you an opportunity.
Thank you so much. I am Mrs. Njao. I'm a teacher of English literature at St. Thomas Aquinas, Kalawa Boys. I've also done some counseling, higher diploma in psychological counseling. I'm the chair, Peer Counselors Association, Kitui County. So I was saying that the mechanisms that school can use, one, in summary, because of time, we can have a devolved structure in schools to handle the learners, starting from the students themselves. The best apostle for our youth is another youth. Pope Francis says that. So if we have these students, having some students they can trust from a class level before a teacher counselor or any other teacher reaches them, the information can trickle down in a good way, but the counselor should be taken through a training in order to be able to handle that. Then constant positive talk to the learners. Constant positive talk to the learners. In a school setup, we can use the parade assemblies to achieve that, so that the teacher counselors and the student counselors can be given at most 10 minutes every assembly. 10 minutes every assembly. This is the time that we are supposed to be telling the students that they can achieve, even if the families have failed, even if they are not getting good grades, so that we impact on character modeling and the character training and impacting the values, so that even if these students don't score the best grade, at least we have met somebody who can positively serve the society, help himself, and then help others. The next thing that schools can do to handle such issues, we can also introduce seminars to the teachers. We prepare the teachers in the counseling department, because you can only offer what you have. If a teacher does not have peace, if a teacher is not able to deal with his emotions, even if they have been asked to work in the counseling department, they can only offer so little to the students. Therefore, if their issues are dealt with, they go through a debriefing process, then they can be able to impact positively to the student. Therefore, the administration should empower the teachers, deal with their issues, be helped by counselors, so that they can have what in them that is positive that they can give to the teachers. Another lesson that we are stressing on, especially after the COVID pandemic, is to train students on the emotions that can be detrimental and how to cope with those emotions. Everything that goes on, all the truant students, those students who engage in undesirable behaviors, they lack a mechanism of coping with their emotions. Therefore, if we empower now these students on various mechanisms on how to cope with the emotions that they feel, by giving options. For example, if you feel angered, instead of burning a dome, you can write those emotions in a poem. You can write a composition, so that now you are able to get a channel to vent your anger instead of burning a dome. If you are angered with your parents, instead of killing your parents, you can compose a song about what you are going through. And then it becomes now a way for you to get out of that, because already an emotion that has been shared in a poem, an emotion that has been shared in a song, the person is more lighter in the heart, cannot execute the negative effects. Then when we are choosing these teacher counselors and also the student counselors, Mr. Blaise has talked about the personality areas, 4 of them. Every personality area has its positive and its negative. Therefore, these students should be helped to deal with the negative characteristics of every personality aspect. Sanguines have their positive and they also have their negative. Every personality aspect. Therefore, a human being should have a constant self-program of addressing what you know is negative in you. Even as the panelist, there is an issue you are dealing with. It can be anger, it can be jealousy, but you must know how to deal with it because it is part of your personality, which sometimes is hereditary. Therefore, if you are easily angered, for instance, you should learn how to deal with that so that you don't transmit to the learners and tell them if you're angered, you hit someone back. Tell them how they can deal with that. They can withdraw from the situation which is angering them. They can also express themselves. They can take time. They can relax a bit, walk away. They can drink water so that that emotion comes down so that we avoid having situations which are so detrimental in our society and in our schools, which sometimes are very costly to deal with. And allow me to take you back, please, David. There were some practical situations which I wanted to put across when you could not reach me on the practical solutions to deal with the effects of lesbianism, the drug abuse, all that. I feel that in a school setup now, for instance, in a society, in a church, we can get practical solutions. For instance, one, if we get people who have been affected by these drugs, people who have been affected by these undesirable behaviors, adults, of course, who are volunteers, tell them on the effects of engaging in that because they did that when they were young and now they were not able to get out of it, and these are the consequences. Because our learners want to see practically, if I take bank, what will happen to me? When you give them the theoretical information, they think that you are lying to them. But if you get these people who are volunteers, of course the school will vet so that you don't get hooligans to schools, so that they can come and speak to our learners, so that the learners see, for sure, I have seen this person, he has talked to me, and I can see even his lifestyle, he's not leading a good life. We encourage them. It's only a fool who can learn from their own experiences. They also learn from other people's experiences so that it becomes as a deterrent measure to engage in those undesirable behaviors. Two, let us build a trustworthy team of teacher counselors, teachers, even parents. Because if this learner, if this pupil, if this student cannot trust you with information, that means he cannot get a person to share with. These people who are trustworthy are supposed to be also people who can be able to follow up these students. I want to call it accountability partners. So those students who are in undesirable behaviors, they get a person who is trustworthy, a counselor, they share what they're going through, and then they have a commitment bond on how to get out of it. Well, now they write this commitment bond, the accountability partner who is older than the young adult is able to follow up and see how the student is progressing from coming out of that undesirable behavior. When they come out of it, any small step made should be appreciated, should be recognized, so that they feel that somebody somewhere is seeing that I'm changing. And when they are in the process of changing, as teachers and as counselors, let us desist from reminding them, in Form 1, you did this and this. Are you still the same person doing it in Form 4? Because some of them have gotten out of it. And when you keep it as a constant reminder to them, it drills their process of getting out of the same. Then the same teachers and the society should be taught how to cope with emotions. You've seen what is happening in our political realm, even the teachers, so that now we impact. In fact, the real problem is about on how to deal with emotions. You feel so lonely, you go and take drugs. You feel so lonely, you visit a site on pornography. So how can you deal with those emotions that you are feeling? I suggested earlier that they can write, they can go for games, they can do a drama, they can go for any sport that they like, so that that negative energy is drifted elsewhere. then it is important that our learners are taught this topic, parenting with a purpose. Sometimes we assume that after Form 4, the learners will get an opportunity to learn how they can parent. Our society, funny enough, some of our learners get out of Form 4, they get married. Nobody took them through any idea about marriage. In high school, we stress on illicit relationships. We deter them from engaging in them, and which is very good, which is very positive. But I believe now in Form 3 and 4, bit by bit, we can start teaching these learners. What do you desire in a parent from that perspective? So that for them, they raise the ideas. How could you wish your parent to be like? So that those desirable behaviors that the students put across, we encourage them. The time you will be a parent, we also expect you, the society expects you, the church expects you, our country expects you to behave this way. If you are choosing somebody to marry, what are the things that you feel should be considered? What do you think your father considered to marry, your mother considered to marry? So that for those ones who will get out of Form 4 and get married immediately, they don't bring to school half-baked learners who have not gotten a chance to be parented by somebody who went through any counseling session on parenting. Because at the end of the day, these learners will get out of school, they get married, they get their kids, they bring them to school. So it becomes a vicious circle of dealing with those issues. So if sensitization is done from a school level, it will go back to the society because these learners come from the society. If the school takes that responsibility and also the church to teach on parenting with a purpose, so that the learners who grow up are responsible citizens. Because if we fail to do so, I'm very sure you as the panelists and the people who are logging in, you know, most people have been married after Form 4. And sometimes you blame them, but there is no class on marriage. There is no class on raising children. So we should help them. We should see how we can bridge the gap. Another point which can be done, the church. I've seen the Catholic Church doing so well on the seminars, but I believe at a county level, if we can have seminars, especially when schools are closed, where now we engage the parents to come on board to get those seminars on parenting. We bring on the students to come in to have seminars on relationships, of course, healthy, pure relationships, which can help us in the future to get on board learners who have been parented by responsible parents. And then for those extreme cases, like the ones that we are handling in schools, those who come from families with violence, families where the parent is not there, single parents who have taken their children to their grandparents to be parented, we can have rescue centers. Rescue centers even in churches. The structures are there. We can have centers where these learners in the society, where these learners in schools who feel they do not have somebody to hold their hand, who feel they don't have a role model from the home setup, can run to for guidance. And at least every church at the county level, or the Catholic Church, or any other responsible citizen can decide to have such centers so that we help our generation. And then people like Blaise now, who have done so well, who have decided, I can even forgo this lecturing job and start to mentor the society. We need to have such bold individuals who can take the mantle and impact the society positively, because you change a person's attitude, you have changed the society, you have done much more impact in the society, you have planted a seed. Take you back up, please, a bit. On the issue of self-worth, the topic that we started with. Self-worth is, what value do you put in yourself? How much are you worth? Let us sell hope to these students and tell them their worth. God decided that they should live. God decided that they should be born. And God has a purpose for them. Let us inculcate that so that they know that there is a purpose that God decided that they are born and to survive up to this time. so that they know that they are supposed to live and impact the society positively. I have 4 Ds on that. 4 Ds. Let us inculcate this in the students. The first D is dream. Somebody without a dream is a person going nowhere. If we engage these learners, especially in Form 1, to know their dreams, to say them, to write them down. Say them, know them, say them, write them down. And then we do a follow-up on those dreams. Every dream is valid. Those who say in Form 1, I want to be a doctor, they change alongside the way, they lacked somebody to do a follow-up. Let us encourage them that their dreams that they had in childhood, the dreams that they had in Form 1 are still valid, they can be achieved. Even if it is starting in small steps, they can be achieved at long run if only they are focused. Even if they don't come from a background of somebody encouraging them, as teachers, as teacher counselors, let us become a motivation to these students. Number 2 is decision. Let us allow these students to make a decisive decision about their lives. Their life does not belong to their parents, nor the government, nor the teachers. They should take responsibility on any action that they engage in and be accountable on that. So anything that they want to do, the decision they make, the learners from Form 1, even from primary, they should know that a decision comes with a consequence. If it is a negative decision, the negative consequences should follow. If it's a positive one, the positive consequences should follow. And for sure, some consequences cannot be avoided, and some can be detrimental. Some can even lead to death. Some can be fatal. Like those who engage in drugs, it can lead to death. So let us remind them of the decision they make. At any level, if they have made any negative decision, let us allow them to retrieve and come back and recollect themselves and move on positively. Because every person makes a mistake, but if you don't have someone to remind you to change your decision, to retrieve the decision, the way you have charted, then you are bound to go to doom or to fall. The third one is drive. Some of the experiences we're getting, very lazy students. Some who ban their schools and say they want to go home and watch TV. That's a lazy student. As teacher counselors, let us inculcate in these students intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within. When they remember their dreams, that dream should be a motivation enough. When they remember their families that they come from, some of them which are suffering because of their financial status, that one should be a drive enough to allow this learner to work extra hard so that they can achieve their best. A student without a drive is a student who is a recourse for any problem in a society, even in a school setup. They cannot even do their assignments. They can think their parents did it for them. Their parents are driving, they have good houses, so they will inherit. Let them learn that something that you engage in, something that will change your life, you feel even good about it. So let them have that drive that comes from within, not to wait for the teachers to come and push them around, but a drive that will make them even ask for extra hours to learn, ask for extra time to do academic work, ask for extra time to do anything that can build a school. And it will come from the students, not the teachers. Let us give the voice to voice out, to say as a school, as students, as class Form 1, as Form 2, how can you make our school better? We give them a platform so that they also give an input on how they can make our school better and even the research better. Then number 4, determination. Anything that they're going to achieve, it's only going to come because of determination and resilience. They should not give up. Even if the grades that they want are not coming, they should not give up. Bonaparte says, the best trader is a trader who sells hope. And any dream that a person needs to achieve, resilience is the best attribute that can be in the learners. Even if they're not having it today, their tomorrow is better than yesterday. Thank you, David. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you, Njao. Sorry you had to come in late. You had quite a lot for the team, and we do appreciate. It's only that the timing is not fair, otherwise would have given you a lot more time and allowed you to answer a few of the questions. But because of the time, I just want to take this session very briefly so that we can come to a closure, and I'll take it back to Mr. Paul, our main facilitator. Paul, just in a nutshell, just briefly, maybe you will summarize and just tell us a bit about drug abuse in general. This includes which are the commonly abused drugs, how to identify somebody who's using drugs, and any remedial measures. And then the rest we will explain to the team, again, because of time. So can you quickly give us a presentation on drug abuse?
Thank you.
And
So
combine it maybe a bit with the life skills.
Thank you so much, Grace and Ms. Njao. Thank you. That was very well presented. I love that. We are in a society where drugs are very easily available. I know a place in town, and I hope I will not be used. This will not be used against me, where heroin and cocaine are being packaged at 80 shillings per pack. And you know, the more complex the drug, the more complication it brings in the body. And therefore, one of the challenges we are having is that our society, unlike during our times, the drugs are so much available. One of the things I think we need also to ask ourselves, what are some of the various drugs that students are using? I think number one, we said a lot of alcohol. And when you're talking of alcohol, we are also talking of available wines. And I'm so sure some of you would have gone to supermarkets and realizing some packets are costing as low as 50 cents. Number two, there are also kinds of drugs which are powder in form. And when we are talking of powder in form, we are saying sometimes when you see children coming to school with sugar, unless you are very keen on understanding some of the drugs in the market, you may think sugar or glucose is glucose or sugar as you think, while those are powder drugs. One of the requests I would want our father Julius to do is to try us with NACADA. What they are doing NACADA nowadays with schools or with platforms like this is to show you the available drugs. They show you in pictorial forms, so that as guidance and counseling teachers, you're able to see a particular drug and relate with it. So that when you see a student carrying glucose, you can detect to know, is this glucose or is this drug? Is this juice or it is not juice? So until the counselors and teachers understand the drugs and the packaging of drugs in the market, they will only think that drugs nowadays is in form of beer, it is in form of bangi, and they will forget that there is something that we are calling powdered drugs. I saw a student in a particular school we caught who had carried a drug that looked like sugar. All that student needs to do to give other student is to give them chewing gums. So once she has the chewing gums, all that she needs to do is you dip it. You know, some of these schools we have kiosks where we have ball gums and big G's. All that student does, you bring your big G, he dips it inside, and that students over the weekend, they only keep chewing. Without knowing, they have already taken a lot of amount of drugs. So we are saying, I would request, there are thousands and thousands of drugs. And one of the persons who will help you understand is NACADA. But in my book, even Boys Cry, I've written all of them. Actually, even have gone to an extent of even showing you the diagrams of the drugs, so that at least you see it and relate. But I would also request, nowadays information is digital. When you hear a drugs like Kubel, go to the internet and say the diagram of a Kubel or an image, so that once your students are taking them, you'll be able to see. And maybe very quickly within a minute or two, and I'll make sure I'm brief here. Why are students taking drugs? Number one, pressure from peers and friends. Pressure from peers and friends. From the village to home to schools, everybody saying it is cool to take drugs. that is making everybody takes drugs. Even girls' schools, girls are taking drugs because people think it is a sign of being cool to take drugs. Number two, curiosity. Everybody has been told, have you tasted? Have you tasted? Actually, one of the greatest disservice industries like East Africa Breweries of Limited are doing to us, and that's why some of us are coming out very strong on this issue, is saying drugs should be taken by people who are lesser than 18 years old. When you say less than 18 years old, that means you create a curiosity for people who are 18 years old and below to take it. One of the dangers of teenage is curiosity. So when you see a lot of adverts being done on the media, it is not fit for people less than. It makes those people become curious. Number three, it is lack of proper parenting, Our parents have abdicated their duties. Our children are home on their own. In fact, I was watching one of the musicians, our teenagers laugh so much. And I'm sure you have seen these people, that everywhere these teenagers are singing this, this musician, rock music are singing, they're either singing in a swimming pool, taking drugs, or taking boozes and everything. Children who have no parents to ape, they are aping. The role models must take this. The fourth way is a way of dealing with stress. And that's why I'm saying, as a school, we should help our children handle stress. If we don't address issues, they look for ways to escape that. Another one, and I think it has come out very well, it's a way of fun. How many parties have students been caught over the holiday taking? Because they think, in fact, I have seen this, people think there can never be birthdays, there can never be parties without beer or drugs. So the society today feels the only way to identify a cool party or a real party is where there is alcohol and there is beer. Finally, as I conclude, how can we know a student who is taking drugs in school? Number one, declining performance. There is no way a student who is taking drugs can continue performing well. You need to realize declining performance is one of the indicators. Number two, aggressiveness. Students who are taking drugs, they seem to have another boldness that is not real because they are doing it under influence of something. Number three, the outlook appearance. Some of them get dirty. Some of them you can look at the eyes. Some of them have black or dark lips. Some of their tongue have black property, something like that. Number four, trouble with school administration. And probably the last one is personal neglect. The best way a school can do to handle all this, not that we may not prevent it from coming, because unfortunately, some of the drugs are coming through school by the people we are sending home, maybe to go for school fees or to go for medical. I remember of a boy who we had chased at school. I was a chairman of the board. Tukamfukuza nyumbani, alikuwa amevunjika mkono. Akakuja na plasta ya mkono. Hatukufungua plasta, kumbe kwa plasta already alikuwa ameweka drugs. And that's how we came to know. So we are saying the only way the school can do this is the guidance and counseling department to be inviting people to come and talk about drugs. And I have always said, some of the best people to invite, go and visit a rehab and bring a person who is being rehabbed, so that the students see it practically. They can see the effect these drugs have. I can tell you the best people to train on drugs are people in the rehabilitation centers. They are good evidence, practical examples to teach this. Two, let the students know you are willing to help them. You can tell them any student who is willing and who is struggling with drugs and needs to quit, we are not condemning you. If you come out openly, we will not chase you, but we'll help you. I remember I went to a school, I think in Muranga last weekend, and I think something the principal is saying, if you are taking drugs, this school is not your place. If you are struggling with drugs, this school is your place. We are ready to help you out. So we help the schools to become not just a place for punishment, but a place to assist those who are struggling. Because some of them are willing to come out, but our schools are so hostile for them. Finally, and I think I want to say this, there is power in prayers. I've always said this, as a born-again Christian, that drugs are one of the satanic tools that Satan used to destroy our community. People like Father Julius, Father Nzure, these regular programs you have in school can help a lot. Psychology is good, but there is a God who can help us overcome some of these things. And that's why I'm saying, sometimes when we go for prayers, raising altars in schools, addressing these things, praying for even children who are struggling with alcohol. Prayers have been seen as a great solution to people because we don't want children to have some of those symptoms. I think I'm done. Brace, back to you.
Yes, thank you very much for that very insightful presentation on drug abuse. I think we might have to call these two panelists another day, including Madam Njao. These are very resourceful people. I'm seeing from your comments, the participants are really learning a lot from you. We truly appreciate. And I want to believe that when you call you again, Father, I think we may not have finished everything, and I can see there's a lot of questions, and I'm sure you're able to read them, which we need to respond to. If time allow, we'll be able to reach out to all of them. Thank you once again. At this juncture, I want to invite Father to give his closing remarks. Then I will invite the other panelists, including Father Nzule. I don't know whether you are there. We're having a challenge listening to you, but Father Julius, kindly take the floor.
Thank you very much to all of us, and especially I start by thanking the Moran publishers for collaborating and for helping us to get this knowledge and bring on board all the panelists. We have gotten a lot of information which is invaluable, and we are going to use it for our schools. I want to thank sincerely our teachers for their participation. In a very special way, Mr. David Zioki for linking us and making it successful through our interaction. We really sincerely want to thank you. I want to really thank our presenter, Mr. Wandere. We have learned a lot. I think teachers, I also advise them to buy your book. It's very resourceful. I have it already on my table. I have it here. It's a very nice book, which we want to advise them to get more information because information is power. And then I also want to sincerely thank Jacqueline Mokoa for your input and also the work you've been doing, and Father Andrew for the chaplaincy and also for mentorship. I want to assure our teachers through our collaborators, we are continuing to help and support you. And we are going to have the second session of this presentation next Thursday, the same time. I think Mr. Zioki will confirm that because there is supposed to be 2 sessions. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless you too. I don't know, Mrs. Njao, do you have any closing remarks? You can. I know time has really chased you, but I'll give you a minute to close.
Oh, thank you so much, David. The closing remark is that for sure, as teachers, as teacher counselors, we need more of these sessions. And for sure, I can say that the time you spend to plant a seed in a learner of positive attitude in life and character modeling is not a waste of time. The way some teachers in the counseling departments are working besides their busy schedule to mentor the students is not a waste of time. Maybe the TSC cannot pay for that. The schools cannot pay for that time, but God will pay at his time. Who knows? Maybe your own children may not struggle with the challenges that you are helping the learners to overcome today. So our motivation as counselors should be, God will pay at his own time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Njao. Before I ask our main facilitator, Paul, to close for us, just like Father has said, Mr. Njao is also an author, and he's the author of a book called Even Boys Cry. Maybe, Mr. Njao, you can show it on the screen, Even Boys Cry, so that people can see the cover. Are you there?
It is Mr. Blaze.
Sorry, not Njao. Sorry.
Yes.
Wandere. Paul.
My book
Paul.
is still being made.
Okay. Even voice
Mine is on
lift
Seeds
it up
of
a
Gold.
bit. Lift it up a bit. We can't see it. Yeah, we can see your face, but we can't see you. Yes, that is a book that is an author. Is the one who has written. It has a lot of information about what you have. He has made presentation and a lot more. It is ideally a good book for boys, just telling them about self-motivation, how to handle their growth, and how to live in schools. There's a lot of beautiful information in that book, and that book is available. I heard him and Mrs. Njau talking about the personality types of students. And it's not only students, even us, we have our own personality types, and we cannot blame. This is what we inherited from our parents. That's what has made us, the personality types. I can almost tell, I can see a bit of sanguineness in our facilitator, Madam Jao. I can see a bit of sanguineness with you. I'm sure it is mixed with something else. And no wonder you are a teacher of English, because most of the people who are sanguines, they also have some personality. The personality types links up with the best careers that they can have. Like I can tell you for free that majority of teachers who can handle guidance and counseling are phlegmatics. The phlegmatics are those you are saying they don't like talking much, but they are understanding, they are very understanding, they are patient, they are good listeners, all those, and they also have their own careers. And even some of our politicians, we have one or two who are of those personality types. And I want to tell you that some of that information is found in this book that we call Career Pathways and University Handbooks. The beauty about these books, it will give you the the personality types, and then link them with the best courses that personality types can take to help them get the best. So, I mean, as a sanguine, as a teacher of English, somebody who is in fine art, somebody who is in arts, somebody who is in communication, like in Aswale Mdoe and the likes, those are the people who we call sanguines, and the best career that they can take would be that. So this is a book that can help your students, your children also, to handle their career perspective based on their personality types. Don't force a sanguine to do sciences, for example, because sciences are for melancholics. Your teacher for science, I'm sure, is a melancholic. They don't like teamwork. They like working alone, such kind of thing. And that is them, and that is how they are wired. People who we call the cholerics, I heard Mr. Paul talk about cholerics. Cholerics are those who naturally, they like speaking about themselves. They like to know what is the end. They look authoritative, and they have best careers for them. So these books can guide you, apart from showing you which courses to take. It is also going to tell you which personality type is best for which courses. Kindly take time and have a look at that. I also want to tell you, because we are here because of COVID, there's a new book in the market. It's called Coping with COVID-19 Pandemic, done by a Kenyan doctor. It's about COVID and how to deal with it. Again, allow me, Madam Njao, to tell you that the way you are wearing your mask is not correct, because when I look from here, it tells me that you can easily infect yourself. You're not supposed to touch it where you have touched it. You're supposed to use these parts to adjust, and many good information. It has information about steps to safe reopening of learning institution, food handling in open catering, hospitality and learning institution, a lot of which are the best foods to take. It has a lot of information, and I would wish you to take time and get a copy. And they are quite affordable, because this book goes for 495 plus VAT. This one goes for 550 plus VAT, and I'm sure with David, Zioki, and myself, we can be able to facilitate. You can find them in bookshop. And in case you don't find them, I want to give you these numbers, which you can call us. For David Nzioki, who is our representative in that area, the number is 0733 636501. 0733 636501. And my name is Blaise Mwangi. My number is 0733 636507. 636507. You can call us in case you want to get copies, and we hope that these are also going to help your children in matters to do with careers. These are books that are going to help you. Even the book that has been written by the beautiful author and our presenter, Mr. Paul Wandere, it is also available. Thank you very much. I want to now hand over this program for a final wind-up to Mr. Paul. Give you a closing remark, and we wave bye-bye to everybody else.
Thank you, panelists. Father Julius, I really appreciate you. I love the fact that you sounded very informed, and that was very, very exciting. I value that from you. Madam Jao, thank you so much for making the presentation very colorful. Mr. Nzioka, Bracy, thank you so much. Only 3 announcements and then I'm done. As you've been told, the way I have written this book would help you so much. What I did, I've addressed everything children in high schools are going through. Self-identity, chapter 1, chapter 2, school and careers, chapter 3, life skill, chapter 4, sex and sexuality, chapter 5, friends and peers, chapter 6, drugs, chapter 7, stress and management, chapter 8, hygiene, chapter 9, addictions. I would request anytime you have this book in your school, it's good to have 3 or 4 copies so that at least in your school you can do it in series. Like for example, every teacher, every class teacher knows this week from 1, from 2, from 3, we are dealing with addictions so that we can help the schools do what we call topical series. This week is addictions. Teachers have a reference point. I would request you to have it and do it there. Secondly, and I think this is what I would also wish to request, my dear counselors, counselors can also do what we call burnout. You are dealing with so many people, you are dealing with issues every day. I think what we need next time is a topic on equipping school counselors to handle work stress and personal challenges. Because a lot of time you will deal with people, students every day coming to you, issues every day, and nobody remembers you. So that we are not so much concerned about the baby and we forget the mother. So I think we need a seminar where we are not now dealing with counselors on how to deal with students, but on how counselors can deal with themselves. Finally, I'll be so happy in case you feel you may need me to your schools. I would come accompanied by Mr. Nzioka, and probably we can organize other with father so that maybe even the cost of charges of facilitation may become very cheaper. We organize how I can come 1 week in Kitui or around your areas so that I'm still around, so that it can be cost saving instead of commuting from Nairobi to your schools back, and then I can come for a whole week with Mr. Nzioka visiting your schools, talking to your students. There is a program we are having for Form 4 scoring, finishing strong, finishing well. Finishing strong, finishing well. Maybe I can come around to your Form 4s at a very cheap rate just to come and help them so that we prepare them for life in market, before exams, during exams, and after exams. Probably for my number, for those who may need my number to reach me, I know you can reach me through Mr. Nzioki, but also you can get it directly, 0721 88 1472. 0721 88 1472. But I would gladly request that you get me through Mr. Nzioki so that we ensure that we do these things in a good way. God bless you so much. Thank you for participating. May God bless you. May He see you through, and may your school succeed in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
May God bless all of you. Asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki. I'll just request the panelists to remain behind. Otherwise, the rest of you, you're free to leave, and we wish you all the best and handle those boys and girls in the best way possible. In case we have not answered some of your questions, as I'm telling you, some of the questions can be answered from the book, from Mr. Paul, so ensure you get a copy. We may not have had enough time. In case we have another session, I'm sure we're going to collaborate with Father Julius and see whether we can have another such session, if time allows. All the best. Once again, may God bless all of you. And thank you for the good jobs you're doing.
We are done. How do you switch? Or we just switch feed?
Hello, I can see people are leaving. Mr. Nzioki, are you there? Nzioki? Okay, if Nzioki is not there, I want to thank all the panelists most sincerely.
Yes.
On Nzioki. Nzioki?
Yes.
There's some communication you wanted to make to the panelists? Can you hear me, Mr. Nzioki? Nzioki?
Yes, we have a different link. Hello?
Come again.